بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم أخرجني من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمني بنور الفهم اللهم افتح علينا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا خزائن علومك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. We have few chapters remaining from Al-Am wal-Khas. The fifth chapter is تخصيص العام بالمفهوم. If we have a, for example, sentence which is am, general, can khas be an implicit meaning? So far, we were talking about mantuq. لا تكرم الفساق من العلماء. Or for example, أكرم العلماء إلا الفساق. It was mantuq. But now the question is, if we have mafhum, can mafhum of a sentence act as a mukhassis for another sentence? Here there is a discussion. إذا كان هناك عام ودليل آخر آخر is غير منصرف. Yeah? Don't say آخرون. Yeah? ودليل آخر له مفهوم. If there is am and there is another dalil, another reference which has mafhum, هل يقدم المفهوم على العام? If that mafhum is khas, can be given priority, because what is the point? The whole point in takhsis is that am has zuhur, khas has zuhur, but we prefer zuhur of khas over zuhur of am. Yeah? Do you know why? Why we give preference to khas?
The way of uqala. The way of uqala.
Yeah, why?
Because it specifies and it narrows it down so that you can have specific interpretation from there.
There are two ways to explain, and maybe they go back to the same thing. The zuhur of am is not as strong as zuhur of khas. Although both of them are zahir, it's not that they are nas necessarily. Sometimes they can be, but most of the time, as we said many times, am is zahir. And one of the instances of asalatul zuhur is asalatul umum, asalatul itlaq. You remember we said all these go back to asalatul zuhur. So am is zahir, khas is zahir, but we prefer zuhur of khas over zuhur of am, because zuhur of khas is stronger. Why zuhur of khas is stronger? Because if you give priority to khas, then khas makes sense, and also still something remains for am, which also then makes am also meaningful. But if you give priority to am, khas becomes meaningless. Nothing remains for khas. So we give priority to am or khas? Khas. Why? Because either you give priority to khas or khas is absurd. Is it clear?
Yes.
So, the question is, what about a khas which is not spoken, a khas which is mafhum? Would it still be preferred or not? إنما عقدوا هذا البحث مع اتفاقهم على تقديم المخصص على العام. They have open this discussion and make this discussion, although they have consensus. Ittifaq means agreement. They have agreement that mukhassas should be given preference over am. They accept it as a rule. But still here they want to discuss this because mafhum is maybe not as strong as it can be standing against am and take something out of am. لأجل تصور أن الدلالة المفهومية وإن كانت أخص أضعف من الدلالة المنطوقية. Some people have thought that the dilala of mafhum, although it's narrower, but still is weak and cannot stand against mantuq of am. Therefore, they have discussed it. In order to clarify this issue, we discuss it in two different cases. We discuss it with mafhum al-muwafaqa and mafhum al-mukhalafa. You remember muwafaqa and mukhalafa?
Yes.
What was muwafaqa?
When it is according to the mantuk.
Yes.
together.
Yeah, both of them are, for example, amr, both of them are nahy. For example, when we say لا تقل لهما أف, we can understand by implication that you cannot also beat them. Yeah? This is muwafaqa. Mukhalafa is that mantuq and mafhum are opposite. One is, for example, amr, one is adamul amr. So, the first type, تخصيص العام بالمفهوم الموافق. قد نقل الاتفاق على جواز التخصيص بالمفهوم الموافق. It has been narrated, it has been quoted, it has been transmitted. If you remember, we had the term al-ijma'ul manghul.
Yes.
In fiqh, we discussed this in al-ijma'ul manghul. It's opposite to what? Al-ijma'ul muhassan is something that you yourself make conclusion. You study different views and you are sure that there is ijma'. Ijma'ul manghul is that someone else tells you that there is ijma'. So this is not hujjah for you, unless you have full trust in that person. Okay? But here, we don't want to solve the issue with ijma' because this is not a kind of issue that ijma' can solve the problem. This is ugly issue or linguistic issue. But anyway, there seems to be no one who disagrees that it is permissible to limit, to restrict according to mafhum muwafiq. For example, there is a arm which says اضرب من في الدار. Whoever is in the house, اضرب. Okay?
Beat them.
Pardon?
Beat them.
لا تقل للوالدين أف. لا تقل للوالدين أف means by implication that لا تضرب الوالدين. Then لا تضرب الوالدين and اضرب من في الدار have a conflict. But because they are said, this is a supposition that they are said by aqil, someone who is aqil, so we must look for a solution. When someone who is aqil says am and khas, the solution is that takhsis. We have to do takhsis. Means اضرب من في الدار إلا الوالدين. Okay?
Beat the rest of them. Not your parents.
At least he made it.
This is a kind of not real
Just an
example.
I know.
It's just
It's funny.
It's memorable.
something to,
We'll never forget.
yeah.
It's a good one.
فالدليل الثاني يدل على حرمة ضرب الوالدين أيضا إذا كان في الدار. It shows that you cannot beat the parents if they are in the house. فيخصص العام بهذا المفهوم. if it is mafhum al-mukhalif, here is not as easy as the previous one. In the previous one was easier. Here, because if you remember, mafhum al-muwafiq was also something which is known bil-ulawiyya, is what was stronger, yeah? Mafhum al-muwafiq is stronger than mantuq. When you say la taqul lahuma uff, this is strong. But do not beat your parent is stronger than la taqul lahuma uff. Therefore there is no problem. Mafhum al-muwafiq is stronger than mantuq. But mafhum al-mukhalif is weaker than mantuq. So what should we do? Let us first give you an example and then you will see how it works. For example, we have am. إذا ورد عام. Okay? الماء كله طاهر. Kul is for umum. Any type of water is clean or pure, ritually pure. It's am. هل يخصص هذا العام بمفهوم المخالف في قوله? Can we restrict this with mafhum al-mukhalif in this sentence? For example, the sentence is this: إذا كان الماء قدر كر لم ينجسه شيء. If water is kur, nothing can make it najis. What is the mafhum of this? That if it is not kur, it can be najis. So it shows that there can be najis water. But the first one was saying al-ma'u kulluhu tahir. So this is a kind of takhsis. Is it possible to limit al-ma'u kulluhu tahir with the mafhum of al-ma'u idha balagha kurran lam yunajjisan, which means that if it doesn't become kur, yunajjisuhu, it becomes najis. The answer is that we don't have a universal rule or universal, guideline here. It depends. We have to see how strong it is, mafhum. For example, here it seems, yes, we can give preference to mafhum over umum. So, ma is tahir except the ma which is not kur and has been touched by najis. So you have given preference to mafhum over umum of am. Is it clear? Al-ma'u kulluhu tahir. But the other one limits this. It says al-ma'u kulluhu tahir except ma which is not kur and has been touched by najis. Okay? But there might be cases that khas, which is understood by implication, by its mafhum, is not strong. So you may not be able to make decision whether it has been restricting or not. So Ayatollah Subhani says, الظاهر أنه إذا لم تكن قوة لأحد الدليلين في نظر العرف على الآخر يعود الكلام مجملا. If there is no one which is stronger, it becomes mujmal. You don't know what to do with respect to this part. Of course, with respect to the remaining part of there is no problem. But here, when they both overlap, that's the problem, and becomes mujmal, means it's not clear, ambiguous. أما إذا كان أحدهما أظهر من الآخر, but if one of them has more weight, is stronger, then we give preference to that. Like this example. Here there is, azhariya, there is more power for mafhum. Okay? So, with respect to mafhumul muwafiq, there is no problem because mafhumul muwafiq is even stronger than mantuq. With respect to mafhumul mukhalif, it depends. Chapter 6 is very important, and this is what one of you asked before. هل يجوز تخصيص الكتاب بالخبر? If there is in the Quran and khas is in the hadith, can we restrict the meaning of with khas or not? تخصيص الكتاب بالخبر الواحد. Ayatollah Subhani says تخصيص الكتاب بالكتاب, no problem. تخصيص الكتاب بالخبر المتواتر, no problem. The question is تخصيص الكتاب بالخبر الواحد. You remember خبر واحد?
Yeah.
When you have not necessarily one, it can be more than one, but it's not reaching the level of tawatur. And also normally we distinguish it from mustafid. We have wahid, we have mustafid, we have mutawatir. Mustafid is also that many narrators are there in every generation, but does not reach the level of tawatur. Wahid is normally 1, 2, 3 people, but they are reliable. Imagine it's khabar wahid, which is reliable. If it was not conflicting with umumul Quran, was okay. But now, can we act upon khabar wahid which is conflicting with umum of an ayah? And umum is zuhur, it's not nas. Don't be frightened. How can even you talk about this? No, we can't talk about it because umum is understood from ma'na zahiri. It's not nas. If it was nas, there was no problem. So, ulama here have different opinions. اختلفوا في تخصيص الكتاب بالخبر الواحد على أقوال ثلاثة. Scholars have differed in their opinion about this, and there are 3 views. القول الأول, the first view is عدم الجواز مطلقا. Some scholars said we can never modify umum al-kitab with the khusus of khabar wahid. وهو خيارة السيد المرتضى. Sayyid al-Murtada rahmatullah alayhi, brother of Sayyid Razi, in his book Al-Dhari'ah. This Al-Dhari'ah is in Usul. It's different from Al-Dhari'ah la Tasanif al-Shia by Sheikh Abu Bakr Tehrani. That's a contemporary. This Al-Dhari'ah is a 1-volume book in Usul al-Fiqh by Sayyid al-Murtada, and he has chosen this idea. Also Shaykh al-Tusi fil Udda. Udda, this is not Udda Tudda'i in Dua by Ibn Fahdala. This is Udda fil Usul by Shaykh al-Tusi. Al-Muhaqqiq Li in Ma'arij, also in Usul, he has mentioned that it's not possible. Al-Qawl al-Thani, the second is Al-Jawaz Mutlaqa. وهو خيارة المتأخرين. Recent ulama, after for example Sheikh Ansari, they believe that it's okay. You can do takhsis of kitab with khabar wahid. القول الثالث التفصيل بين تخصيص الكتاب بمخصص قطعي قبل التخصيص بالخبر الواحد فيجوز به أيضا وعدمه فلا يجوز به. Some people have made a distinction. I told you before, whenever you see mutlaqa, it's actually used in contrast to one distinction that comes later. Because you might say, what does mutlaqa mean here? Mutlaqa means we are not accepting the distinction that the third opinion is making. The third opinion says this. Please listen carefully. They say that umum which is in the Quran, if it has already been modified either by Quran or khabar mutawatir, so we can modify it again by khabar wahid. Because that umum is already affected, is already modified, you can do it again. If that umum has not been already modified by kitab or khabar mutawatir, we don't accept that it can be modified by khabar wahid. Can you guess why they made this distinction?
Because if it has already been modified, then the principle is correct because it has happened, and therefore we can still do it again, do the same thing because
It leaves a scope for more interpretation.
You know, it seems that they had this assumption that when umum is broken already, then it's not that strong, and even again you can break it with khabar wahid. But this is not correct. Why? Because we said with respect to the rest is hujjah. So it doesn't make difference whether part of it's taken out or not. Still is a strong. So this is why ulama have not accepted this, most of ulama, especially mutaakhirin, have not accepted the third. Did you get the point?
Yes, that's right. Yes.
القول الثالث التفصيل بين تخصيص الكتاب بمخصص قطعي قبل التخصيص بالخبر الواحد فيجوز به means بالخبر الواحد أيضا وعدمه فلا يجوز به. They have made a distinction between two scenarios. One is that the book has already been modified by a decisive modifier. What is decisive? Kitab, khabar mutawatir. If it has already been modified, so yajuzu bihi ayzan. It's possible also to modify it with khabar wahid. Wa adamihi. If it is not already modified with something which is decisive, fala yajuzu bil khabar wahid. Bihi means bil khabar wahid. Clear? خب. These are three opinions. فقد استدل المتأخرون. Why ulama who are near our time and ulama of our time, people who were one, for example, generation before, two generations, and people of our generation, why they say it's possible? The second opinion. They have mentioned different arguments. Two of them is as follows. الوجه الأول جريان سيرة الأصحاب على العمل بأخبار الآحاد في قبال عمومات الكتاب. It has been the habit and the style of the companions, or ashab means of the Shia, because ashab can be ashab of the Prophet. Sometimes we say ashab means our ashab, means our scholars, yes, our Shia scholars. That they act according to khabar wahid when it's, I don't want to say in conflict, but it means when it is in opposition to the umum of kitab. Opposition is pseudo, it's just temporary. It looks like a conflict, but it's not a conflict. So when there is khabar wahid, which is somehow looking in the first glance that it is conflicting with umum al-kitab, they have acted upon khabar al-wahid. Because it's not a matter of rejecting Quran, it's not a matter of saying that na'udhu billah, Quran is not accurate. No, at all. This is a common sense way of solution, bringing two things that a wise person has said together. احتمال أن يكون ذلك بواسطة القرينة المفيدة للعلم بعيد جدا. If you say, I accept that there is such habit, but it's only when there are extra reasons and evidence to make us sure about the hadith. If there are qara'in, if there is evidence that makes you sure and this hadith becomes maqtu or sudur, then you can do this. You say, it's very difficult to accept that whenever they acted upon Khabar al-Wahid to modify Quran, they had extra evidence, which has not reached us. Okay? So this ihtimal, this probability that their habit, this habit that they acted according to Khabar al-Wahid was because there was qara'in, evidence which was leading to yaqeen and knowledge and certainty, it's very unlikely. This possibility very low. For example, let us give you an example how they modified the umum of the kitab. When it comes to inheritance, Quran says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم يوصيكم الله في أولادكم للذكر مثل حظ الأنثيين. For a son, there are two portions, and for daughter is one portion. Of course, we don't want to discuss now the reason, but just briefly, there can be many reasons. One reason is that because this son has wife and children who are under his financial care. But the daughter is to be looked after by her husband. Even if she is millionaire, husband has to look after her. Okay, of course, it's good for women to offer their money to their husband, but husband should not expect this. Unfortunately, sometimes I hear some boys here in this country, they don't feel responsible to look after their wife. They say, you work and I work, or you get benefit, so I don't need to. No. Husband has to, pardon?
Every country.
Now, this is spreading, but
The boys will take the wealth of the wife.
but a man should even resist if his wife says, I want to contribute, and then if she insists, just to make her feel happy, she says, okay. Not that, says, you have to pay half and I pay half. This is not Islamic way of marriage. So, this boy, this son has wife, children, but the girl is not supposed to even pay for her own cost. So when we give two portions to the boy, indeed we are giving to the family, not just the boy. Even this son has to look after his mother. Father has passed away, for example. Even if his mother is in need, he has to look after his brothers and sisters who are young. So there are many things that he has to look after. Anyway, the question is this. If, God forbids, one of the children is the killer of the father, the umum of the Quran doesn't talk about this. It says, because this is not something that is often happening, but we know from hadith that a murderer would not inherit from the murdered father or mother, or any murdered, relative. Murderer is not receiving anything. So, this khas, which we understood from hadith, has been given preference to the generality which we take from zuhur of that verse. Yes.
Why is the ruling for uququl walidain?
No, that's not.
You can't get the inheritance?
No. You can.
It's still after being...
Yes. Unless, for example, father or mother, for example, in their wasiyah with respect to their 1/3, they can exclude someone, but not more. وَخُصِّصَتْ آيَةُ Yes.
How about the son's wife and children? Is killed his father. Would they have anything at all in their inheritance? If the son has killed the father, now his wife and children, would they get anything
No.
at all? They won't get anything
No, no.
at all.
Because they get through the son.
Yes.
So this is perhaps, of course, we don't know the reason, but perhaps at least part of the reason is to stop people thinking,
Yes.
even thinking about
Killing the
Killing the parents.
parents.
killing their parents. Unfortunately, you see in the history that there have been kings who were killed by
Yes.
Their own children.
their own children.
Yes.
Rich people who have been killed by their husband or by their wife or by, unfortunately this happens. So to leave no chance, it has been said that the murderer would not inherit.
This hadith is Khabar Wahid.
Yes. And the address is here in Wasa'il al-Shia, the hadith is there. Every alim has accepted that this exclusion is okay. Or خُصِّصَتْ آيَةُ حِلْيَةِ النِّسَاءِ. There is ayah in Surah Nisa which talks about the women that you cannot marry. And then says, أُحِلَّ لَكُمْ مَا وَرَاءَ ذَلِكُمْ. But apart from those women who are mentioned as those who you cannot marry, there are, for example, your for example, a woman that you are married, then you want to, for example, marry the niece of that wife. Without permission, you cannot marry her niece. This is not mentioned in the zuhur of that ayah, but from hadith we understand. ورد في السنة, it's in hadith, أن المرأة لا تزوج على عمتها وخالتها. Means you cannot marry niece of someone after marrying her. Niece can be for amme or khale, means your wife's sister's daughter or your wife's brother daughter. Okay? Or ayatul riba that we had before, there is exclusion between parent and child or between husband and wife. We learned this exclusion, this takhsis from khabar, from sunnah. So, the first reason for saying that it's possible to modify the umum of kitab by khabar wahid is that this is the habit of our scholars, Shia scholars. Yes.
Shaykhna, it's a bit surprising that this is the habit of our scholars, yet we see that on the first opinion, which is Al-Mujaz mutlaqan, we have the likes of Sayyid Murtada, Shaykh Tusi, and Al-Allama al-Hilli, who, especially Shaykh Tusi, Shaykh Ta'ifa, usually the mujtahideen used to be very close to his method and his way.
Yeah.
Little deviation from his main method at that time. So how can...
So even Sheikh Tusi accepts this fatwa, but he was saying that this is something that we are sure about it. And he wanted to say that because there is qara'in and we are sure, this is not an exception. Any case that we are 100% sure that the umum is modified, no problem. So this is the way Sayyid Murtaza and Sheikh Tusi would answer. But he says it's very unlikely to say that all these cases are where we are given additional evidence which leads to yaqeen.
So in that case, they should be in the third category.
Pardon?
They should be in third category, not in the first.
No, it's not about the third. Third is that when there is a takhsis and then you want to do second takhsis. The second argument is this. إذا لم نقل بجواز تخصيص الكتاب بالخبر الواحد, if we don't accept that you can modify the zuhur of kitab with khabar wahid, there would remain no benefit for khabar wahid. Why? Because any khabar wahid somehow conflicts with one zuhur of Quran, with one umum of the Quran. Because any khabar wahid which is making some conditions, some details, would conflict with a zuhur. إذا لم نقل بجواز تخصيص الكتاب بالخبر الواحد لازم إلغاء الخبر بالمرة. Then we have to say خبر واحد is not valid at all. It's not acceptable at all. Why? إذ ما من حكم مرويا بالخبر الواحد إلا بخلاف عموم الكتاب. Because there is no ruling that is mentioned in a khabar wahid unless there is a umum in the book which is against it. Okay? Because any detail would be against the umum. Any condition would be against the umum. Of course, this is just against in the sense of zuhur. Aqul, Ayatollah Subhani says, this is exaggerated. لا يخلو الوجه الثاني عن إغراق. This is not free from exaggeration. Okay? Why? Because there are many verses of the Quran about prayer, about zakat, about fasting, that they have been said only for laying the foundation for tashri', for legislation. They are not there to give all the details, and then we say because they have not given the details, so for example, there is zuhur in umum. لأجل ذلك تحتاج إلى البيان. Because they are only for laying the foundation, the explanation, and explanation can come in hadith. الخبر الواحد بعد ثبوت حجته يكون مبينا لمجملاته وموضحا أو موضحا لمبهماته. It explains what is not clear. ولا يعد مثل ذلك مخالفا للقرآن ومعارضا له. This is not مخالف, this is not معارض. بل يكون في خدمة القرآن. This is at the service of Quran, is explaining Quran. And the main reason for khabar wahid is this. So Ayatollah Subhani wants to say, it's not that if we don't accept takhsis, khabar wahid is useless. No, khabar wahid is to explain, not necessarily to modify. ثم, then Ayatollah Subhani says, so far the result is that we accept. We accept that khabar wahid can modify zuhur of Quran in umum. But this is about takhsis, not about naskh. Khabar al-wahid cannot abrogate a ruling which is in the Quran. Abrogation is much more demanding than takhsis. You know, abrogation, naskh. ثم لو قلنا بجواز تخصيص القرآن بالخبر الواحد. If you say that it is permissible to modify Quran by khabar wahid, لا نجيز نسخه به. We don't permit that it can be abrogated by that. Why? لأن الكتاب قطعي الثبوت. Because Quran is definitely, certainly issued by God. It's coming from God. Okay? You remember we had this discussion that Quran is قطعي الصدور. والخبر الواحد ظني الصدور. Here, there is no 100% certainty that it is from ma'soom. Dhanni means suspicion, but suspicion in the sense of mantiqi, logical. So it means more than 50%. فَكَيْفَ يَسُوغُ. How it is acceptable, how it is possible. Saga yasugu means acceptable, permissible. نَسْخُ الْقَطْعِ بِالظَّنِّ. How can something which is definitely issued from reliable source be abrogated by something that we are not sure. إذا كان النسخ كليا, it wants to abrogate it altogether. لا جزئيا, it's not like خاص. خاص is not 100% abrogating. خاص is just taking a little bit out of the umum. إذا كان النسخ كليا لا جزئيا, it's completely abrogating, not partially. What does it mean completely? Means رافعا للحكم من رأسه. It wants to remove the hukm altogether. So, with respect to naskh, we will have example later. Sometimes Quran itself has done naskh, that's not a problem. Inshallah, it comes in chapter 8. So if you have question about naskh, please wait till we reach the next chapter, and inshallah we will explain. Yes.
Sheikh, going back to the question about the qudama.
Yes.
It appears as though, from their own saying, the qudama, like Al-Matusi, they didn't accept to,
In this book, in Udda.
yes, for example, or Al-Mahalli, but in practice, he says that for example, these examples, they actually do use it. But he says that if it was for an extra reason which makes them certain, that is very unlikely. On what basis does he say that this is very unlikely?
He says the cases are so many that it's very unlikely to say that in all these cases they had qara'in, which made them certain, and those qara'in have not reached us. We can say, okay, for example, in the case of inheritance, they were sure. But to say that all the cases they were sure, it seems unlikely, because why then we have not received those qara'in? We can say we missed in some cases, but to say all the qara'in for all the cases that they have not reached us is unlikely.
But Sheikh, do we not have their own texts explaining their own reason for the foundation for their fatwa? Because as we know, the fuqaha, when they write to them, they also, in the scholarly version, they write the reasoning, the hadith, the evidence that they have, and the usul that they rely upon.
So, for example, they say because of this hadith, that la mirasa lil qat. But they don't say why, for example, this hadith is 100% known to be authentic. This is according to Aqa Subhani. I am not judging.
So what he's really saying is they sort of contradict themselves.
I don't want Sheikh Tusi blame me.
Because that's the point that I'm understanding. Is he's sort of saying, maybe indirectly, that they sort of contradict themselves.
I think it's not very important actually. Because in these cases, we are not just going by voting or majority minority. Whether, for example, someone said this or someone didn't say it, doesn't make difference. It's just good to know the history of the discussion, to know the way. But at the end of the day, every faqih has to make his own mind. So even if all ulama in the past have said we cannot do this, one mujtahid today say we can do this. Okay? So it's good for you to go and see who said what, but this is not something that we go by majority minority. Okay? But it's good, if you do research and go and find out whatever they say. Right now, we just say this to give you an idea about the history. Otherwise, the main thing is the argument. Okay. Was it fair what I said? Is it fair? Sorry. I hope I'm not unfair. Al-Fasl al-Sabit, the 7th chapter. تعقيب الاستثناء للجمل المتعددة. Sometimes there are few rulings. Few rulings, 2, 3. Then there is istithna, exception. Question can come that is this istithna for the last one, or for the last 2 ones, or for all the 3? Definitely the last one is affected. Umum of last one is modified. Because there is no way to think that three things are mentioned and istisna comes after the third and it goes to the second or to the first. If it was like that, they should have been coming next to each other. So the only chance is to say that it's either for the last or the last plus penultimate, or the last and penultimate and the first, if there are three. Is it clear? Let us give you an example. وَالَّذِينَ يَرْمُونَ الْمُحْصَنَاتِ ثُمَّ لَمْ يَأْتُوا بَأَرْبَعَةِ شُهَدَاء. Those who accuse women who are, married, pious, and also they have their chastity. They accuse them and they don't bring 4 witnesses. So there are few rulings. فَجْلِدُوهُمْ ثَمَانِينَ جَلْدًا. This is the first ruling. وَلَا تَقْبَلُوا لَهُمْ شَهَادَةً أَبَدًا. And never accept their testimony. أُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْفَاسِقُونَ. We have 2 rulings here. Okay, one is فَجْلِدُوهُمْ ثَمَانِينَ جَلْدًا. The second is لَا تَقْبَلُوا لَهُمْ شَهَادَةً أَبَدًا. Then Allah says إِلَّا الَّذِينَ تَابُوا مِنْ بَعْدِ ذَلِكَ. Except those who do tawbah. وَأَصْلَحُ. Is this tawbah solving the problem of being witness, the problem of فَضْرِبُوهُمْ, or it doesn't, for example, solve the problem? It's only perhaps exclusion from أُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْفَاسِقُونَ, means that they are not fasiq after tawbah. Or it means they are not fasiq and also you can accept their shahada, but maybe still the punishment is there. So there are few possibilities. One opinion is رجوعه إلى جميع الجمل. It affects all of them. Yeah? It relates to all of them. Why? They have said if we want to restrict it to the last one, it needs dalil, it needs a reason. But this doesn't seem to be very strong, because okay, there is a reason it comes after the last one. Second, ظهور الكلام في رجوع الاستثناء إلى الجملة الأخيرة. It's quite opposite to the first. It says no. It goes back to the last one. Why? لكونها أقرب. Because the last is nearer, and therefore this taxis goes to the last one. Third, عدم ظهور الكلام في واحد منها. Yes.
There's one thing. إلا الذين تابوا من بعد. If a person does tawbah and the person is suffering, the man who has been accused or the woman who has been accused, so how can you to forgive this person who the woman is still suffering for his sins?
تابوا وأصلحوا.
وأصلحوا, then it means he immediately retracts his statement.
That's correct.
Yes.
If he
So he
delays
does.
in
He does
retracting-
everything to sort out the mess he has created.
I see, as long as he's done that, I think that's important.
Yes.
Thank you.
Tawbah.
Aslahu. This aslahu is very important.
So,
Okay. ظهور الكلام في رجوع الاستثناء إلى الجملة الأخيرة لكونها أقرب. So they say there is zuhur, that it goes back to the last one, only affects the last one because it's nearer. The third opinion, عدم ظهور الكلام في واحد منها. It's not apparent which one is to be modified. The last one, all of them, the first one. But although we are not sure, but at least we know that the last one is included. So we are not sure whether it is the last one only or all of them. But the last one definitely. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. وإن كان رجوعه إلى الأخيرة متيقنا على كل حال. Although its return is, to the last one is known under all circumstances. لكن الرجوع إليها شيء, but to say that it includes the last one is something, and to say it is zahir in last one is something else. We don't say it is zahir in last one, because if it is zahir in last one means that we know that doesn't include others. We say last one is included, but whether it is only this, there is zuhur for only this, or zuhur for all of them, we don't know. Do you understand the difference? So we don't say it is zahirun fil akhir. If you say it is zahirun fil akhir, means then the rest are okay. It remain as they are. No, we say the last one is included, but either
Only that he
on its own or with others. So zuhur, we don't know what is the zuhur, according to the third opinion.
So, you mean only his witness won't be accepted? The last part. Because there are
Yes.
two things. But
Or-
he will still be
Or
punished.
fisq would be affected.
Fisq.
He's not fasiq.
He's not fasiq.
Sheikh, can you give us another example of the last one? Because I'm not maybe understanding what is exactly meant by the last one.
Here we have either we can say 2 or 3 rulings. One is that فَجْلِدُوهُمْ ثَمَانِيَ جَلْدَةً لا تقبلوا لهم شهادة أولئك هم الفاسقون.
Yes.
They are fasiq. So if they are fasiq means they cannot, for example, be imam of jama'ah. He cannot be imam of jama'ah. إلا الذين تابوا. إلا الذين تابوا modifies أولئك هم الفاسقون, but does also modify لا تقبلوا لهم شهادة أبدا and فَجْلِدُوهُم or not. This is the question. لا شك, Ayatollah Subhani says, there is no doubt that this exception, istithna, can return to the last one or to all of them. There is such a possibility. The question is there any zuhur? So there is no nas. If there was nas, means
Regulation.
it's 100% clear that one of them is the meaning. But we say there is no nas, it's possible. There is likelihood. Is a zuhur? Means although the other option is likely, but we say it has zuhur in this and we ignore the probability of the other option. إنما الكلام في انعقاد الظهور لواحد منهما. Is there any zuhur for one of them? عند العقلاء, among rational people. Okay? فالاستثناء كما يحتمل رجوعه إلى الأخيرة كذلك يحتمل رجوعه إلى الجميع. It's possible that this exception goes to all or goes to the last. والتعيين بحاجة إلى دليل قاطع. And if you want to choose between one of these two possibilities, that it goes back to all or to the last, you need something decisive. You need a very decisive reason. وما ذكر من الدلائل للأقوال الثلاثة لا يخرج عن كونها قرائن ظنية. Ayatollah Subhani says, the arguments that they have mentioned are not producing yaqeen. So we cannot rely on them. They don't prove zuhur. So according to him, you don't know here what to do, and the only thing that you can be sure is the last one is excluded. Nothing more. The last one. There is no zuhur in last one, or no zuhur in all of them. But in any case, the last one definitely is modified. Okay, now we go to the next chapter, which is interesting chapter, and it also, inshallah, if we manage to finish it, helps us to finish the discussion about Am and Khas.
Sheikh, can you just explain for one more time about
Yes.
the zuhur of the last one?
Yeah.
It is definitely excluded, but there's no zuhur.
No, no. It's not that there is zuhur in last one.
Yeah, it is definitely.
So, it can be zuhur in last one, it can be zuhur in all of them,
Yeah.
which means that you are in doubt, you don't know which one has zuhur. But definitely last one under all circumstances is included. Otherwise this sentence becomes absurd. Okay.
Sheikh, when we say the last one is definitely included, isn't there Zahur on the last one?
Zuhur as last one, no.
Zahur in
What
the-
do you mean by zuhur? You know, if it means zuhur last one and not else, no, there is no such zuhur.
No, there's no.
But
At least in the last.
either zuhur for last one or zuhur for all of
All
them.
of them, yeah.
And because none of this zuhur is established, so there is no zuhur.
Oh, okay.
There is no zuhur.
Yeah, well,
The other question is, supposing the people who have been accused, the men and the woman, but they both decide to forgive that person out of the goodness of their heart. So what is the ruling there then?
It seems that this is not the right of that person.
It's not his right to do that.
It seems that this is, like
the Hakim should-
a kind of haqqullah. It's
Haqqullah.
that to stop people accusing each other, there is such a thing. For example, if the person says, I don't bother, can we still accept a shahada of this person? It seems no.
They don't forgive. They can't forgive.
Yeah, they can forgive their own right, but they cannot say, okay, this person now because I have forgiven him is not fasiq. It seems that he's fasiq. He has damaged his adalah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like, for example, if I say I don't mind if you make false accusations against me.
Yes.
Even if I say I don't mind, still you cannot make false accusations. Yeah, because it's haram to tell lies. Yes.
Sheikh, so here when it says وَلَا تَقْبَلُوا لَهُمْ شَهَادَةً أَبَدًا, this أبدا
Yeah.
is here apparently two opinions. One opinion would be until they seek forgiveness, never accept the shahada. The other would be never, no matter what happens, because this forgiveness here doesn't.
So if we say إِلَّا الَّذِينَ تَابُوا includes لا تقبل لهم شهادة, then it means that never accept their shahada even if it is 50 years later till they do tawbah. So it means abadan till they do tawbah. Okay. النسخ والتخصيص. What is the difference between naskh and takhsis? What is naskh first?
Abrogation.
النسخ في اللغة هو الإزالة. Naskh means to remove. إزالة means to remove. وفي الاصطلاح, but in technical usage, رفع الحكم الشرعي بدليل شرعي متأخر على وجه لولاه لكان ثابتا. To remove a religious ruling with another religious ruling, means you replace it, in the way that if the second was not there, still the first was continuing. If we say, we have this law for 5 years, and then after 5 years we have a second law. This is not naskh.
Different.
It's not naskh. Because from the beginning you said that is for 5 years. 5 years finished, and now we have another one. But naskh is in the way that if the second was not mentioned, you would have thought still you have to carry on with the first. Okay? على وجه لولاه لكان ثابتا. If there was no naskh, the first one was still in effect. Is it clear?
Yes.
Even those who don't listen, it's clear? وبذلك علم أن النسخ تخصيص في الأزمان. So, naskh is a kind of takhsis, but with respect to time. So, it's not excluding part of the instances, but it's saying that up to this time, it's okay, but From this time onwards, no. So مانع عن استمرار الحكم. It stops continuity of the ruling. لا عن أصل ثبوته. It doesn't stop. It's from the beginning. For example, Ayatollah Subhani says, actually, I know only 2 naskh in the Quran, he says. Because some books have mentioned more, but he says, I only know 2 naskh. One is about najwa and sadaqah. You know, there was a time that Muslims were asked to give sadaqah before whispering to the Prophet. And then they didn't, whisper to the Prophet. They didn't talk to the Prophet because they were afraid of giving sadaqah, except Amir al-Mu'mineen. Then this was abrogated. So the first ayah was in Surah Mujadala, verse 12. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu idha najaytumur rasul faqaddimu bayna yaday najwakum sadaqah. It doesn't say for 1 year, for 2 years, for how long. Yeah? So it seems that it's a permanent rule. Of course, Allah in His knowledge knows, but doesn't express that this is temporary. Like Allah knows that Ibrahim is not going to slaughter Ismail, but for ikhtibar, for examination, He just says do it. So, then ثم إن الصحابة لما نهوا عن المناجاة قبل أن يتصدقوا ظن كثير من الناس من التصدق. When they knew that they should not whisper to the Prophet except after giving sadaqah, ظن with ضاد means بخل. Yeah, ظن is different from ظن. ظن means they were miserly. Yeah, many people حتى كفوا عن المسألة. They didn't ask Rasulullah anything. فلم يناجه ابن أبي طالب بعدما تصدق. ثم نسخت الآية بما بعدها. Then it was abrogated with the next ayah, which is ayah 13. أأشفقتم أن تقدموا بين يدي نجواكم صدقات فإذ لم تفعلوا وتاب الله عليكم فأقيموا الصلاة وآتوا الزكاة وأطيعوا الله ورسوله والله خبير بما تعملون. This ayah said, were you afraid of giving sadaqah? فإذ لم تفعلوا, you didn't do this, and Allah accepted tawbah. Allah returned to you, means forgave you. It means that then you don't need to do this. So this is one case. The other case that he says I know is this ayah about iddah. Before Islam, if a woman was losing her husband, they used to have 1 year of iddah. Okay? Therefore the Quran says, Mata'an ilal hawl. Hawl means year. Then it was abrogated by this ayah, which says they should do iddah, observe iddah 4 months and 10 days. Arba'ata ashhuran wa ashra. Okay? So 1 year was reduced to 4 months and 10 days. Okay, this is naskh. Now, question. There is a very important question here to understand the difference between naskh and takhsis. Naskh always comes after the time of practice of the first ruling has already started. So there is a ruling which you think it's permanent, but it was meant to be temporary. It was supposed to be acted upon. After some time, the second comes. But in takhsis, khas should always be mentioned before the time of practice comes. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. Why they didn't mention the khas when we were supposed to act? You remember, even in Mutlaq, with Muqaddamatul Hikmah was also this. So, in Naskh, يعلم أنه يشترط في النسخ وقوع العمل بالمنسوخ فترة ثم ورود الناسخ بعده. It must be acted upon mansukh. Of course, when we say it must be acted upon, in the sense that it means it was applicable. Maybe they did ma'asiyah and they didn't act upon it. You know, either some acted upon it, or all acted upon it, or no one acted. Of course, there is always some people who act upon it. But I'm saying that the main thing is that it was supposed to be acted upon. It was fi waqt al-amal. This is the main thing. وإلى هذا يشير كلام الأصوليين حيث يقولون يشترط في النسخ حضور العمل. When Usuliyun say that in Naskh, the time of action must be there, is this. They mean this. Then he says, in the legal systems in the world, when people, human beings, make the law, always Naskh is when they change their mind. You know why a parliament or a government changes the law? Because first they think this law is better, then they realize that it didn't work, they faced problems, they changed the law. So it comes with change of mind. But in the case of Allah, Naskh doesn't come with change of mind. Naskh comes because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to test us, or wanted a period of time pass till He gives us the final ruling. Okay? إن النسخ في القوانين العرفية يلازم البداء. قوانين العرفي means in the positive law, in the law of the countries. It implies bada. This bada is not bada that we accept in kalam. Bada means literally change of mind. Bada lahu means it occurred to him that he has to change. So, something from masalih and mafasid, interests and harms were hidden, they come to know, then they change their mind, they say we have to change this law. بخلاف النسخ في الأحكام الشرعية. This is different from abrogation in religious rulings, because knowledge of Allah includes everything. محيط, it's all embracing. لا يعزب عن علمه مثقال ذرة في الأرض ولا في السماء. Nothing, even the slightest, the little particle can remain unknown to him. فالله سبحانه يعلم مبدأ الحكم. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows the beginning and the end of the first ruling. But He doesn't tell us that this is temporary. أن المصلحة اقتضت إظهار الحكم بلا غاية لكنه في الواقع مغير. Allah didn't mention the end of it, although in reality it had an ending. Is it clear?
Yes.
Okay. فقد خرجنا بهذه النتيجة أن النسخ في الأحكام العرفية رفع للحكم ولكنه في الأحكام الإلهية دفع. This is the last thing. It's time of Salah. Do you know the difference between daf and raf'? Sometimes enemies want to come and we don't let them come. This is daf'. Not to let them come. Sometimes they come and we want to get rid of them. This is raf'. Sometimes there is disease which has come.
Yes.
We have to do raf'. Sometimes we want to stop, prevent. This is called daf'. In the case of Sharia, naskh is for... Naskh is not because there is no real ruling in the second time. So it's like a raft. But in the case of Orfi is daf, because the ruling is going to be there. This is just a difference between laws made by Allah or laws made by human beings. When human beings understand they made mistake, they change. But in the case of Allah, it's not that Allah changes because He makes mistake. He, from the beginning, knows that this was for a period of time, and after that, there is no such a thing. Okay? Inshallah, we continue, or maybe you can read it yourself. If there is anything I can explain, inshallah. Wa akhiru da'wana and alhamdulillah rabbil alamin.